Terran versus Terran about to take to the stage here for WCS Valencia as Marines and siege tanks in the millions are about to be built by these two players, and as they go head-to-head. It's going to be uThermal going up against MaSa here, both of which have had different roads through WCS Valencia, one from Challenger, one all the way from our first group stage. I'm joined by In Control and Fear Dragon once again, and what we've seen from uThermal during 2017 WCS has been a 16th place and then an 8th place. So he is slowly gathering momentum through this year after we had a lot of expectations from him coming into 2017.
You fancy he takes a 4th place this tournament?
Maybe. It would be progressive.
That would be mathematical, man.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
One of the strongest European Terrans, always one of the best performers. But it's been a bit of a beleaguered position where it was like we always look to the European scene to kind of guide us as Zerg, Terrans, and Protoss, the best non-Koreans. But, man, WCS this year has shown us that it's maybe not the case. Kalizer, Major, well, Special, excuse me, are some of the best Terran play we've seen so far. Even Protoss has been Neeb, Showtime falling off a little bit. Zerg, still pretty strongly in favor of the Europeans, I would say. But this TvT is going to be interesting because uThermal hasn't shown us on the big stage. I think even back to Young Shiping, there wasn't a really mega impressive showing, but he can do that. So I'm excited for the potential there, I guess.
Fear Dragon, Jeff mentioned before the break that uThermal seems to be the more all-round player compared to MaSa in this current state. Do you think that's fair to say for uThermal?
Oh, absolutely. uThermal has a really long history. He's been able to play a lot of those macro games. MaSa, while I think he is sometimes capable of playing those macro games, that's not really his strength. In fact, if you actually look at how he qualified for Valencia, his entire run was mostly proxies, it was all-ins, it was all kinds of crazy shenanigans. And it's actually really funny. If you talk to him even a day before those qualifiers, he was actually talking the most negative way possible. He was like, oh yeah, I think I'm gonna retire soon. I'm all washed up, I'm content with it. And then he just goes in and storms through the qualifiers. But I don't know if he's feeling as good anymore. And he hasn't really been doing any of those proxies. It's been macro games, and they haven't worked out as well.
Well, we can talk about it in a few minutes here, as I think we're ready for Smix on the stage. Smix, are you ready for a Terran versus Terran?
I am. I'm very excited as a fan of Terrans myself for our final match of the day, as you guys mentioned. It is a TvT, and it's a match from earlier on today from Group C, where uThermal and MaSa played, and uThermal was able to beat him 2-0. So will MaSa be able to get revenge, or will it be uThermal moving on to the round of 16? For the last match of the day, it'll be Canada versus the Netherlands.
Seems like these boys are ready to go. Seems like Team Liquid's retired that pink jersey that they had at the beginning of the year, etc. But uThermal, all business, no doubt. I think he had a few mishaps at the start of this year. You know, there were some Challenger runs where he didn't feel super comfortable, but in the last two actual WCS tournaments that we've seen, he's kind of been able to reboot and kind of revitalize himself going into those brackets. Fair to say?
Yeah, I think that is fair to say. I'm not quite sure how to almost talk about these foreign Terrans. They show glimmers of absolute top-notch plays. Some of our biggest foreign heroes in the past have been Terran players. I think of even Thorzane, someone that Swedish people know very, very well. And it's certainly something that's capable of having, but throughout the history of StarCraft 2, it really, not only do I feel like at the top level of non-Korean play has Terran been the most least represented, but the power level. Like when we think of the guys that really go Super Saiyan, it's like your Zergs. We've had a couple of Protoss. Very rarely is it a Terran. So I do feel like, and this is getting way off topic, but I think Terran is a hard race to really keep going consistently. It's one of the most hard control races. And in this business for us right now, MaSa has shown that kind of 19th gear or whatever, he was able to really turn it on. I think back again to the French tournament last year. I'm blanking on the name of it, unfortunately, but he played incredibly well, I think, against Hydra and a couple of these guys.
Tur, maybe?
Yeah. I'm actually the worst. Like, I need a Rotterdam in my pocket at all times. It's just like name states, he's got it. I'm the like flashy, intelligent, witty guy. He's the number cruncher, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think one of the big things about MaSa is that he actually ended up losing to uThermal already in this group stage, 0-2, and I was talking with him about those matches. He said, playing terrible. TvT is a terrible matchup for me. I don't know how I'm gonna do this.
You gotta, listen. Every time we talk to StarCraft 2 players, I feel like the other interviewer, there should be like a motivational speaker right behind him.
Yeah.
Because it's so funny. Like Neeb, one of our absolute best, is #1 in probably this category of being the most guilty. Like, Smix will ask a great question. He'll be like, wow, I was surprised I played that well. I was expecting to play like crap. And we're like, our champion! Yes!
Or
yes!
the Obama interpreter. Do you remember when Obama had the interpreter behind him at that dinner? That would be perfect for StarCraft players.
Just turn it and spin it.
Yeah.
Some venom. Yeah, I mean, a good buddy of mine, Greg, we were famous for that. Like, he won that tournament in China. Like, I am China, one of those, like, it was this big moment. Guangzhou. He was pissed. He was mad. We were like, Greg, you just be Elfie, man. It's a huge moment. He's like, yeah, but he cheesed me. And we're like, well, hopefully you can wipe the tears with the $20,000 check or whatever it is. It's like, StarCraft players are very serious people. Yes, they are. All right, boys, before we get into this series, do you have a prediction either way? Who do you think is going to win it? Ravi?
Well, you know, my heart says MaSa, but my brain says uThermal.
There is, so I'm terrible at predictions, as Kevin's bank account can tell you. He's collected a lot of my money. But I would tell you there's this interesting thing to look forward. Whoever gets knocked into the lower bracket by the guy in the upper bracket, there tends to be a revenge story. And I don't think anyone's crunched these numbers. 2-0 in favor of uThermal, so by all rights, it should be a repeat or something close to that. But keep your eye on MaSa for the upset. A lot of times those guys gain momentum. They've been playing for their lives just a little bit longer, one more match, and it makes all the difference. All right, well, thank you very much, gents, for your thoughts. We'll be checking back with you in just a bit's time. For now, though, let's head over to the WCS America duo from the past of Rotterdam and Nathanius.
Thank you very much, Kalaris. It is, of course, great to be with my best buddy, Roddy, covering this Terran versus Terran series that we have coming at us of, well, a great Dutch player, Roddy.
And all the Dutch hope is riding on this man. Nate, in the beginning of the day, I had a speech. I thought about it for a while. I wrote it out in the morning. I changed a couple words, and I was ready for it. I was ready to hype up my Dutch boys. Unfortunately, both Harstem and Optimus have been eliminated already. They were in the same group. Probe and True actually advanced from that group. So if we want to have any Dutch success this weekend in Valencia, it has to come from this man representing Team Liquid. It is uThermal.
Trying to bring those stroopwafels to the grand finals. He's had some very good results over the course of the last year. He's facing off against this man who really tore things up in last year's WCS circuit. He is MaSa.
I actually casted all the games of MaSa when he was playing his WCS NA Challenger here for Valencia, and he was just on fire. I think he lost one map maybe in the entire tournament. He was just crushing everybody left, right, and center. Of course, a couple of his opponents did play from Korea. Scarlet was one of them. Neeb also played from Korea, but when I spoke with Neeb, Neeb said, no, that had nothing to do with lag. I just played bad. Now, once again, like Jeff said, they often say this, but that really does show how well MaSa can play. But of course, uThermal already won, you know, the encounter they had earlier today. Should be a very fun series. I'm excited. I think it's going to be an explosive one as well. TvT in the past was sometimes a little slow-paced. That's definitely not the case anymore in this day and age of StarCraft 2.
TvT is a crazy matchup that can start with a knife fight very early. In fact, you see MaSa...
Would you say a knife fight in a phone booth, though?
In a phone booth? Well...
No, it's more like a
no,
soccer
it's
pitch,
like
right?
on a cliff. It's on a cliff.
On a cliff.
It usually involves Reapers, right? So it's like playing goalie, but you're,
what about one of those
you're 10 feet above the other guy.
What about one of those balancing ropes? Would you say it like that?
Yeah, it could be a bit like that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
A knife fight on a balancing rope. If your Reapers fall off, you die. Yeah, that seems fitting. And so he went for the scout very early to see if there was like a proxy being put down by uThermal, as he has been known. Actually, both of these players are known for being pretty cheesy with Reapers. I would say more so against Zerg than versus Terran. But uThermal is going to go for the quicker expansion, quick reactor in the factory. He's not looking to rush out crazy tech. He wants his Reaper to scout. He had an SCV sent out to scout. Whereas MaSa is going to have this very quick follow-up where he's going for multiple Reapers. He's getting the Hellion and probably follow this up with either a Banshee or a Liberator. Both are extremely popular options in the meta.
Yep, so it's very important for uThermal that he keeps his Reaper alive here. He shouldn't lose it, obviously. I think he even got the first shot off. I'm not sure how much of a difference that would have made. Could have been a double KO. Now, obviously, going back to WCS Yon chopping, uThermal actually got eliminated by Kelazur in the playoffs. He lost
and
that
Kelazur
series.
was the man on fire for that tournament as well.
Still is, actually. I mean, Kelazur is just crushing. Kelazur is truly taking his game to the the next level. I'm sure we'll see a lot of him tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be great, by the way. All the games of the round of 16 will be broadcasted, so get ready for 8 amazing best of 5s of StarCraft 2 action. This Reaper is actually on the wrong side right now of MaSa's units. uThermal has to be careful. But just to wrap up my thoughts real quick, in that series, uThermal pretty much went for the same build every single game. You remember the one Raven into the double Viking,
yes.
triple Viking, or double Raven even into Vikings. Rather passive play, and then they're somehow trying to get an edge. But that series, Kalazur was truly able to exploit that build. And I'm very curious to see if uThermal has made some adjustments in his TvT.
Yeah, he played a very conservative sort of style. I was able to watch him play earlier in some of the games he was doing in the first group stage, and he's defending Mass Reaper Cheese with Cyclones. He was playing very straight up. Very good games, and
wow, quick reaction there by MaSa.
This map is tricky for Reapers because there is nowhere to jump up. There's that very small lip next to the mine, and you can't get around it. You can't go up that left side. You can't go anywhere to the natural. So it's hard to scout, it's supposed to give MaSa the advantage in this situation because he's the one that's delayed his expansion, and uThermal wouldn't really know about it without having to drop a scan. But he wants to keep the pressure up, so he's going to bring this Banshee forward too.
Obviously worth mentioning is that engineering bay. The engineering bay is about to finish up, while Cloak is also 10-15 seconds away from finishing up. The first Raven is on the way, but it should still be a 6, 7, 8 second window where there is no detection, and there is a good chance that this Cloak Banshee of MaSa is going to be able to do quite a bit of damage. The Viking spots it, but Cloak is ready. Obviously, MaSa doesn't know there is not a single turret or a Raven there. He's going to turn around, still wasted a little bit of time. But look at that Raven nade, only halfway done. This could be quite painful. Are there scans available? Yes, there is one. Ooh. But that's not a good scan. This Banshee is going to survive.
He does push him away from where the workers are, though, and limits where he can actually go with this quite heavily. Ooh. Oh, and there's second scan. So uThermal shuts this down, and the second Banshee is going to roll up. But that Raven that you were talking about, Roddy, it will be done. And all things considered here, uThermal did get away with his much faster expansion without really being punished for it.
And once again, that double Raven opening over here by uThermal, which is very similar to what we saw come out of him in WCS Yon Chopping, where he did beat Kalazur in the group stage, actually, but then lost in the playoffs 3-0 after Kalazur made some adjustments to his build. I'm sure that MaSa has seen these series. I think MaSa is always a player that's watching pretty much every single tournament, whether he's playing a lot himself or not. You know, if you're a Terran player and you see two Terrans face off in the playoffs of a tournament, you watch.
He's waited way too long to get that SCV back on that command center as well. So his third's pretty delayed by, I'd say, about like a solid extra 20 seconds from not just putting a worker on it.
I have a question, Nate. Why is MaSa not building his third CC on location?
I think he's just worried about maybe getting hit with a little bit of a counterplay. I don't know. It's always safer for the float out because the counters in this matchup are super brutal and it's very hard to push that main ramp. But, I mean, he's got units on the field, so he has the map control. He could have done that.
I feel like with all the information that MaSa has gathered so far in this game, I think it's actually quite safe to build it on location.
Yeah, he knew that there wouldn't be stim anytime soon because the barracks was still in the reactor when he first attacked.
So I think that would make a lot of sense, and these small things do really add up, considering the fact that MaSa was a little bit behind economically if you want to claw your way back into the game. I'm not saying he's super far
The
behind.
time it would take to float over to the third base, he could have used to build 2 or maybe 3 SCVs.
And he kind of needs that because he's still down 8 workers. But maybe he can still find an opening with one of these Cloak Banshees. But we've seen uThermal play this type of game before. He's going to sit on his double Raven. He's going to get a bunch of energy. He's going to get multiple Vikings. And then he's just going to macro up. And by the time that the first fight happens, it's very, very tough to win a fight where you have relatively even numbers, but your opponent has 2 Ravens full of energy.
Yep, I like this Banshee coming in the right side while he tries to hit on the left, and I think he still has the Hellions and the Reapers up the front, so he's just pulling everything around, trying to create an opportunity. 8 workers killed in this situation is really nice, though, because we were talking about that lead that uThermal had, and MaSa basically just slapping him here. Very huge pickup for the Canadian Terran player.
Yep, those 2 Banshees were really not going to get too much more done anyways. As now the Hellions and the Reapers going to swing in as well for a couple of additional SCV kills.
A few more like that doesn't even end up losing the Reapers. The Hellions are expendable at this point. He isn't going to be playing mech.
The upgrade advantage is quite big though for uThermal, as 1-1 has already finished up and it's only halfway done for MaSa.
His armory timing was very precise as well, so he goes straight into those 2-2 upgrades. And upgrades are everything in TvT. When you're playing bio versus bio, it usually comes down to 1 of 2 things. You get a big fight where those upgrades win, or you get a crazy doom drop. And I will say, Proxima Station, there's a very awkward, long walking paths which make those doom drops very scary and very powerful.
I just feel that uThermal is playing the type of TvT that he wants to play. He can sit back. He's not behind after opening up pretty safe, pretty conservatively. Having 2 Ravens and having the upgrade advantage, he's completely okay with this because by the time they fight, once again, there is a good chance that uThermal will have an upgrade advantage. And if he doesn't have that, he's going to have 2 Ravens full of energy. That's a ridiculous amount of auto turrets. And that's going to make the difference in the fight. It's going to be borderline impossible for MaSa to win that very first big fight unless uThermal completely messes up. But, I mean, he's uThermal. He's the Intel Extreme Masters 2016 Shanghai champion, Nate. Doesn't mess up.
That is correct. And literally never makes mistakes as these Reapers get cleaned up of MaSa's. That 2-2, I'm sweating right now, Kev, because I don't even see it started for MaSa.
Yeah, that's weird.
This is going to open up a giant window. Now the armor starts. Where's the attack? This will be a very nice, comfortable window where if you are uThermal and you realize you're like, oh my god, I've got 2-2, he still is on 1-1, he's like a minute away. Well, that's when you want to force a fight if you can. We'll have to see what he does. You get a good point bringing up the Raven energy. You can use that to harass, but more importantly, it's actually surprisingly useful if your opponent has a lot of their tanks clumped up as well. Because if you drop 2 of them across like corners on tanks, you can actually kill a lot of tanks with 2 Seekers stacked because they won't be able to unsiege in time.
Or just like a single tank that's kind of isolated by himself. A single auto turret is going to take care of it real quick as well. Now, MaSa does have his own sensor towers too, so he's going to be quite safe. But he's moving out now. This is not a smart moment to move out because uThermal is going to have that upgrade advantage. And if uThermal meets his army in the middle of the map, I know the numbers are close, 78 against 74, but with 2-2 against 1-1 and 2 Ravens, I just don't see how MaSa is supposed to win a fight.
Nope, it'd be very difficult. If he makes this push slowly enough, he can do it with 2-2, but he has to be extremely careful.
That's still a lot of time to buy, though, for our Canadian Terran.
He's halfway there, and 3-3 has started for uThermal, who's very upgrade focused at the moment. He sees this. I mean, if you click on that Marine, you're like 1-1, like that's you want that.
Yep. On moments like this, if you're a Terran player, the first thing you do is you click on one of those Marines and you're like, cool, I've got an upgrade advantage. I am not that worried at all. MaSa is sharking around. He's not going to go for a Doom drop. Against all these Vikings and the Ravens, that would not be very smart.
Suicide. There's no way. No, he won't do it. No way. Especially since he's being scanned. It's interesting because uThermal's not super far behind. Like the barracks production has been a little bit stronger for MaSa. He's up about like 7 or 8 Marines. He's up a tank. And, well, his 2-2 is very close to finishing, so he'll have the opportunity to try to go for a fight soon if he wants.
MaSa does have 4-4, and MaSa is maxed out. So you could technically say the moment you're maxed out, you have 4 bases. Your opponent has 3 bases. This is pretty much the moment where you at least want to start trading out some units and try to find an opening, because these upgrades are so much later. Everything we said about 2-2 versus 1-1, it goes the same for 3-3 versus 2-2. MaSa is maxed out. This could very well be his moment. Don't forget about that double drop.
Marines jebaited straight into those siege tanks, taking heavy fire. Quite a few of them peeled off. And all he needs to do is just encroach on this left side.
There is a drop on the left side as well. There's a drop in the 4th base of MaSa. I'm not sure how big that drop was.
Well, he's got Marines there to defend it, so it's not going to do too much as that planetary finishes. And now, uThermal's forced off of the gold. And outside of that 3-3 that we talked about with the siege tank count this high, well, I think the momentum seems to be steering in MaSa's favor. He's got the extra income off that base.
He's got more tanks.
Aggressive posturing, and the tanks can make up for that upgrade disadvantage that we were talking about.
uThermal is going to float over his command center to 3 o'clock instead. Don't forget about all the Vikings that uThermal has. He could technically pick off a drop like this, but maybe he's afraid MaSa makes a big move with his main army. Scans are going down. The armies are engaging in near the gold, and that seemed like another minor victory there for MaSa.
Yeah, he just dives on top of this, gets some great cleanups. Like, the upgrade advantage doesn't mean anything in a situation like that, and he's going to be able to pick off this command center on the right side, so you need to save that. SCV's going down, preventing that economy. So big, but that one medevac gets snapped up with quite a few Marines inside.
So MaSa definitely getting a couple of good exchanges here.
So
but
now we
it's
have
still waiting for the big fight. Now there is 3-3 for uThermal.
There's a small window again for uThermal where he has this 3-3 upgrade advantage, but that doom drop actually.
Well, this is well done by MaSa. MaSa obviously has excellent multitasking, but uThermal's going to go for it, and these Marines are going to do some work, Nate.
They move straight up, a beautiful spread by the Marines around the tanks. He cleans them all up. He will win those head-to-head fights. That's the opportunity that you have to look for as uThermal, because you do have that full upgrade advantage of level 3 versus level 2. It's only halfway done for MaSa once again.
I feel uThermal should just grab most of his units now. I'm not sure all these tanks were on stage, so that's a few more tanks.
The count knocked down to just 3 for MaSa. He's got another one about to pop out, but
he had 11.
The more Marine versus Marine fights that uThermal can take, he's up about 15 Marines right now. Before 33 is done, the better. You want that fight in the open if you can get it. And
uThermal still has his Ravens, still has all the energy, still has those Vikings as well. I think he's going to try to find an opening here. He could pull a few more units, but maybe he's a tiny bit worried about losing all the SCVs, that if he sends too many units forward, that he takes more economic damage and he can't recover. But he knows about this fort base of MaSa, and MaSa did have an economic advantage for quite some time.
MaSa's going to be even on upgrades in about 20 seconds now, so this is uThermal's moment to strike. He pushes this command center back. He's not going to kill it, but he's preventing him from being able to turn it into a planetary fortress to lock it down. He doesn't really have a crazy amount of tanks here, though. Just 3 is... There's an opportunity for a spread, just like we saw him use earlier against MaSa.
Yep, MaSa's going to get his own 3-3 soon, but he's down quite a bit of supply. Here come the Ravens now as well from uThermal.
This would be his last chance to fight with that upgrade lead. 3-3 is finishing up. The Ravens immediately get sniped. He's able to trade just a tiny bit, but now 3-3 is done. It's an even game in terms of upgrades. The Marine count does seem a bit bigger, but he can't push into those tanks.
Those 2 Ravens of uThermal had full energy,
They were completely wasted in that fight.
Those auto turrets of MaSa, that one Raven took up everything.
All right, YOLO. He's just diving straight in. All these medevacs boosting inside of the main base. He's going for the production. He's going to try to gut MaSa here. Says all the tanks are by that gold base. He even has units waiting outside the gold. He's going to try to pick up maybe this orbital inside the main. Maybe get the sensor tower, one of these other command centers. But these Marines, they're just not in high enough numbers to actually deal with this just yet.
Nope, that's not enough Marines for MaSa. Now, there is a tank that's going to help from the north side a little bit, but uThermal still has more Marines. Yeah. And he still has a couple of Marines left in the medevac as well. It's like, surprise. I've got more where that came from. He's going to get 2 more tanks as well. And I think he can just clean everything up here in the main.
Doom drops good units, Roddy, as uThermal pillages the main base of MaSa. The command centers at that gold are also still exposed as he has enough units there to try to make a play, and he's just going to run over. Even MaSa a little panically shooting his own supply depot. All the Marines, by the way, jump into the medevac with 4 hit points.
Wow, that one medevac is like 1 HP.
You guys should hitch a different ride. I'm going to cancel this Uber. Let's get a different one.
You've got like 2 options. One that has like burning engines, and the other one's perfectly fine.
Don't get in that 1-star medevac, Roddy. It's not a good time.
I never believed TripAdvisor, Nate.
Nope. So he's going to make this big push. That gold that we were talking about, he stretched himself in, but 3 tanks siege the mineral line. Very nice decision-making out of MaSa.
You know, it was funny that MaSa had a sensor tower on the north side of his gold that was just burning down. If he would have repaired it, he would have seen that drop coming. And he could have repaired it because it wasn't on the fire, but it was just burning down because there was so much happening. Right after that sensor tower went down, that's when uThermal went for the Doom Drop. That's a lot of damage, uThermal.
Very aggressive, trying to go for that split and make his way in. And this is so weird because you're really trying to get that mineral income up. He has 3,000 gas. Like, he just needs to get bases for minerals, which he was very slow to do prior.
I don't get it, Nate. Just wipe in some Archons. Oh, wait. Wrong matchup, Royce. Wrong matchup.
If only the Woodpecker side. The 2 planetary fortresses are on the way, so uThermal is going to be able to lock down those bases. Hey, let's talk about scary things, though, Kev. You want to know something horrifying?
Tell me.
15 medevacs and 63 Marines for uThermal. No siege tanks. He literally just finished building 2. And right now, MaSa is about to be at 13.
Yeah, MaSa's doing a good job now as well, leapfrogging with his tanks. A couple of them were on siege, so uThermal's going to go for it, but that's still a crazy amount of tanks.
No matter how well you try to spread your Marines against this many siege tanks, it ain't happening.
That Dutch health insurance is looking mighty good, though, with those 15 medevacs. All the tanks are on siege now.
He's got all the heals for days, but with this much backbone to the army, he will march forward. If he peels off maybe a couple of these tanks on the front, but what he needs to do is somehow get the Marines so that he can drop on top of those tanks, like make a big play towards them. Because that was the thing, because he was hurting on minerals so bad, he's just holding down that A key to build Marines, and he's not actually building any siege tanks during that entire fight. He still doesn't, he doesn't have any now.
MaSa's doing a really good job in leapfrogging forward with his tanks, making sure that not all of his tanks are on siege at once. He has slowly but steady made his way towards the north side of this map, and this planetary of uThermal is going to be on the fire now. uThermal looked like he was doing good in the main, but...
Yeah, with MaSa taking another expansion to the southeast of his gold, this is where that gold base getting picked off could be disastrous. He's going to try for a big backstab play.
Oh, medevacs are exposed. A couple of medevacs for free. Only one tank there, though.
Hasn't really managed to get much because he kind of steps into the valley between those two armies, and now the Planetary Fortress under some serious fire. He's trying to inch these tanks forward. He's trying to get... He's hoping that the focus fire is not there, and it isn't, so he is able to get a couple of tank shells off from his tanks on the high ground.
Don't do that.
Don't fly there.
No fly zone. He's almost broke, man. He's just super broke. How many STVs does he have at 3 o'clock? Is that a fully saturated base? Yeah, it does have 16.
He's got 16. The worker count is 48 total for him, but of course, but there's only so many bases to be mining.
Exactly. Like, he doesn't really have more mineral patches to mine from, so technically he shouldn't be that far behind, but he's just broke as a joke.
He doesn't have enough mineral income to lean into his factory or medevac production, and that's why he's floating this gas, because he desperately needs Marines. Because of that, he can't build tanks, so he has nothing to lock these bases down.
The gold has died, so that is a very, very important base. I mean, there were still quite a few mineral patches left there. Of course, uThermal could still mute. Now, MaSa's going to return the favor.
And now he's going to press the YOLO button, except this is going to be the get out of my game scrub button, because I've got income. I have a huge army, and I have siege tanks on top of your barracks. He's going to destroy every bit of production here for uThermal.
Counter.
The most you can do is try to base trade, but because of the sensor towers are there and MaSa's still building siege tanks, he's got plenty at home to defend. Like, pushing through all of that is going to be extremely difficult to do, especially if you want to win a base trade.
Yep, and don't forget, MaSa's got 6 o'clock, and he's also taking a base in the right bottom side. There are tanks everywhere. MaSa's maxed out. Very, impressive macro by our Canadian Terran.
You can't attack into this
who lost a lot of add-ons when the uThermal Doom dropped him. Don't forget that. So I'm incredibly impressed by the way that MaSa recovered of that massive drop in the main. And our Canadian Terran is looking mighty fine here on Proxima.
Yeah, MaSa played an extremely well put together game. Started off with the aggression. He didn't get too far with it, but the double-pronged Banshee attack in that early mid-game transition phase really set himself up where he was able to even out the worker count from the earlier attacks. And just focusing on the tank production, even though he didn't have the upgrade lead that Thermal had.
That's a lot of medevacs flying into the main. What is in the main of MaSa? There isn't really all that much, but MaSa still has so much. He's pretty much doubling the army supply.
He's got that.
That's a lot of Marines coming in, Nate.
Yeah, the reinforcements, the cavalry's here, as one would say, Roddy. There's still a lot of medevacs to heal these Marines forever. But I do believe that as the tanks show up, all he needs to do is not overextend himself too much. He should be able to push this back. Like, the production just doesn't exist back home for uThermal. He's down 100 supply. And that's basically going to be it. I guess now he could try to drop on top of the tanks, just run towards them.
I think he's got more. I think he's got more medevacs than Marines.
Yeah, at this point he does. He has one left. GG, well played. Game number 1 is going to go to the Canadian Terran, MaSa.
I know I sound like a broken record, Nate, but I still feel that uThermal should have got so much more value out of those Ravens. You can't open up with 2 Ravens, still use multiple scans to kill the Banshees, and then when you finally have those 2 Ravens that are maxed out on energy
all game long.
Yeah, look how much those 4 turrets did for MaSa. They killed both Ravens and they absorbed some tank fire as well. Imagine what uThermal could have done with 2 Ravens full on energy.
Heavily underappreciated that the auto turret has 150 health and 1 armor. It soaks a tremendous amount of damage. And in the words of Wings of Liberty Terran players,
he could have dropped 8, Nate.
You could have dropped 8 of them. It's free. It's free supply, basically, that you can add in there, and it's just a giant meat shield you can just spawn out of your spellcaster unit.
And it's so silly as well, because it really felt like uThermal was incredibly careful with the Ravens at first, never really sending them towards the front of the battle.
I actually like that. I think you are so open to counterattacks if you waste that Raven energy, but you need to have it for when it counts, because you sacrifice a lot to get that, right? Like, if he had just opened 1 Raven, it would have been no different compared to the situation that we had in this game, because he didn't end up actually doing anything with them. The next map is going to be Defender's Landing. This is actually the map that I saw uThermal getting 3 racks Reapered on earlier today. He defended it very well. He opened up with a Gas First Reaper into Cyclone build. This definitely is one of those maps where I do not believe you'll see a fast expand, because the rush distance is so short that if the other guy goes for fast 2 Reapers with the Hellion, like MaSa did last game, that opening would absolutely destroy what uThermal went for in game number 1, because you will have space for the Reaper to get around. You do not have a tiny choke point that's on a cliff that's impenetrable.
Once again, this is the deciders match of Group C in the round of 32. So all these players at least secure themselves $1,000. Yep. But Nurture was the player to win this group very convincingly, actually. 2-0 Denver and then 2-0 uThermal as well. I think Arthur even made a little tweet where he said he was quite pleased with his own performance, which is nice to hear, Nate. When you 4-0 a group in the round of 32.
When you're kicking that much booty, you better be damn proud of yourself, Roddy.
And Denver was in this group as well. Fortunately, he finished at the bottom, and I'm sure that Denver is still thrilled with his run in this tournament, securing himself some money as well. But let's find out which Terran will advance to the round of 16. Is it going to be my Dutch brother representing Team Liquid? It is uThermal.
And a dangerous balance. You know, we talked about the knife fight on a tightrope. It is the decider match, Kev. This is it for our boys. Will it be this man who just needs to win this map to advance on to tomorrow's series? He is MaSa. Looks so sharp with those shades. As he gets into this one. Defender's landing. This map is nuts, man.
Scarlet did manage to advance, by the way, of Group H. So at least we have one Canadian in the top 16. Scarlet was able to overcome Sol and Chem. So at least one Canadian in the top 16, but there is a chance for more, of course, with MaSa still in this tournament. Neeb also advanced, Nate.
Getting that variety. My boy Neeb, my boy. Getting that variety in as well as far as the races go from the Zerg Swarm that we were talking about back at Yunshipping, as we had quite a few heroes from the other races make it very far, like Special, like Neeb. Well, obviously Neeb.
Now, of course, Defenders Landing is one of those maps where we said that TvT can be short and explosive. Well, if there is one map that has it written all over it, it's pretty much Defenders Landing.
Very short rush distance. You've got the cliffs to dance around, 2 entrances into your main base, or to me, your natural. Open things up for things like those tank pushes, the Hellions shoot you from the side.
Cyclones are very strong on this map as well.
Just the way that the main base works, like you have a ripe opportunity since Marines can't really run around this that well. You could jump into the main with a Doom drop. You can go from doing pressure by the natural to a big drop in the main very easily. And don't even get me started on a third base because that just exacerbates the issue.
Well, if we ever get there. More often than that,
if we get there.
We don't on Defenders Landing, but let's see how it plays out. Very big series for uThermal, who I believe was in the 9th or 10th spot of the WCS rankings coming into Valencia. So it was incredibly important for him that he had another good run.
Dangerous tournament for him and Showtime too.
Yeah,
I mean, also had an early bout out.
Yep, for Showtime it's obviously disastrous, but for uThermal it would also be incredibly important. And this is an opportunity, right, with a couple of high-ranked players like Chem not securing that many points this event. This is a chance for uThermal to truly break into that top 8 and still be on track for a WCS Global Finals appearance later this year, which, well, if I know uThermal, I could say it would mean the world to him.
Yeah, he's such a nice, genuine guy. I think MaSa is too. He's in the hunt as well. We do have a Banshee follow-up to the Reaper Cyclone play. So uThermal opening up basically with, this is what I saw him do earlier in his earlier stage matches. And the Cyclone gives you a great sustain against any sort of early pressure. Both players heavily respecting each other. The way that this is panned out, both doing extremely defensive builds. With the medevac follow-up for MaSa because he wants to just fly across the map and try to get damage done. And then uThermal using the Banshee so that he can keep his units home if need be.
uThermal lost the Reaper there, though. An early game Defenders Landing, when you both open up on one base, every unit matters. Now, the second Reaper is going to spot this medevac. The Cyclone could potentially lock on or maybe pick off a couple of these Marines.
He's going to see it. Well, with the medevac healing, it's actually weirdly tricky. Oh, both Cyclones. Ooh, that high ground blocker, though.
One Cyclone so incredibly low on HP. How did it even happen? How the Cyclones of MaSa showed
this
up?
Push out. This could be.
Oh my God!
You kill these, I think.
This is disastrous. The Marines coming in from the north side as well. There is nowhere to go.
He's dropping from the north. Cyclones hitting from the south. He cleans up 2 extremely expensive units for uThermal, and with the Banshee on the way, is
that close? There's nothing in the main, right? A couple of Marines, maybe. One Cyclone.
Take that Cyclone.
There's a Viking there
and
as well.
Viking. So he's pulled the Cyclone up. Banshee's dead.
Oh my God, the Cyclone survives with how much HP?
No cloak even on the way. Cyclone has a cheeky, like, 2
We'll never know.
I'd guess.
It was very little.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this
dead. Now the natural's gonna, oh God.
This is a disaster for uThermal. Our Liquid Terran is in a world of trouble. The Banshee's going to have to save the day for him here. He's going to have to be incredibly careful. There is no cloak.
Oh,
This TC is taking a lot of damage.
No, losing that natural is so big. You have to defend this if you're thermal, but how do you do that? The Viking comes across to help deal with the Banshee.
Oh my god.
And if he lands the Viking, it also trucks the Cyclone because of that damage output it has versus Mechanical. He's trying to bring it back in repair. He's going to try to use the Cyclone to lock onto the Viking, but the Banshee is killed. The Medivacs here, 3 Cyclones. Well, I don't think I need to tell you, Kev, they do devastating damage to buildings, and that will be an extremely painful start to this game. uThermal banking a lot of resources. Like, okay, well, I guess I'll start another depot because I'm supply blocked and a command center, and maybe even another one because he can't build anything anyway. He's still supply blocked.
He's supply blocked, so he can't build Cyclone number 3. I think normally he would have loved to maybe try to apply some counter pressure because a lot of the units from MaSa were low on HP, so maybe he could have returned the favor there. But since he's supply blocked, he can't. His command center got cancelled. It's going to be an incredibly late expand for uThermal. I think it's safe to say if this was a ladder game, he'd tap out the moment he loses CC. Obviously, with your tournament live on the line here at WCS Valencia, you don't want to give up that easily. But uThermal has one hell of a mountain to climb if he wants to come back into this game.
Yeah, I cannot even begin to imagine how he would pull it off. Like MaSa, with the way that he's winding up, getting out that Raven.
This is a start. I mean,
he's trying to take the steps. Pushing the SCVs away is always nice. But he has to be careful because those Cyclones are still going to be great to sustain if he pushes forward, spreads them out, focuses on the maybe 1 or 2 tanks that uThermal could have.
So MaSa's getting cloaked now. Did uThermal see the tech lab spinning by any chance? Because that Banshee was in the main. I didn't actually pay attention to it. So he saw the tech lab, but he didn't see it spinning.
Maybe he thinks it'd be like a second Raven or something like that.
This actually could caught uThermal off guard. And obviously, since uThermal is having a horrible game so far economically, he's not going to waste money on missile turrets right now.
You want to make it rain with them mules.
Yeah.
I expect him to drop them like they're hot on that natural as soon as the command center lands.
26 army supply from MaSa, who has a Raven in the mix now as well. He's going to throw down a scan. uThermal does have 1 Marine forward there. How is uThermal going to try to deal with his army? Because I don't think he has enough there. Here's one of those auto turrets.
The Cyclones focus the other Cyclones. That's just about all you need. That Viking is going to land, and there's just too much firepower from here. From MaSa in this position to really be dealt with effectively. The STVs are going to try to repair that Cyclone in the back of the natural. Meanwhile, he's losing a lot. Dude, look at that tech lab on the barracks in the main base. If he gets up that ramp and focuses that down, or he can kill the barracks in this position anyway.
Cyclone is
he can do almost anything he wants now.
Those Cyclones are going to pick up that last Viking as well. 1 Cyclone remains for uThermal. MaSa really wants to get it, and he does get it. And 2 Cyclones is still alive for our Canadian Terran as well. Now the Banshee is going to show up. It has cloak. There is no detection.
No, yeah, he's got cloak. The barracks, I guess maybe he would be able to get that stem. I guess.
The Marine!
The Marine, you blocked the tank! Well, as if it was going to get anywhere anyway. And, well, he got stem, Kev.
I think that's all he wrote for this series, and that's all he wrote for the Dutch hope in this tournament, as our Canadian Terran MaSa looked dominant, was a little bit behind in game number 1, but he turned it around.
Losing those 2 Cyclones at the start of this game, there's nothing you can do about that. GG, MaSa knocks him out of here, and he will advance onward to tomorrow's matches.
Incontrol said it happens more often than not when you lose the first series that you can turn it around and win the second one. Obviously a great performance there by our Canadian Terran, but I'm hurting a little bit inside, Nate.
Definitely a tough series for the Dutch Terran player, and MaSa coming in strong again in that TvT. Very smart decision making. Hoping to make another deep run here in WCS Valencia.
Great moves on defenders landing there, though, with the Marines early on, the Cyclones coming from the south. That was some awesome stuff.
It was amazing gameplay. We're going to hear from him now on the main stage with Smix.
Thank you very much, as always, guys. Congratulations, MaSa. You're through to the round of 16, and I know that you've had a sort of difficult year, so how much more does it mean to you to finally make the round of 16 of a WCS event?
I think it's been like more than a year since I got an interview from you, so I'm really happy for that. And round of 16 was actually my goal because of my depressing performance lately, and here we go, I'm round of 16 now.
Well, I was talking to Ravi earlier, and he had mentioned that you haven't been happy with your performance lately, but in the qualifier, you got first place, and now you just beat uThermal, who is the best European Terran player, so that's an amazing performance right there. Do you feel like just your practice is paying off now?
I got lucky, and I lost to uThermal prior to this game, 2-0, and then last time in Austin, I lost. So I think it was bound to win this time.
So speaking of that loss against uThermal earlier, did you feel like there was stuff that you learned from that loss that you applied to this rematch?
Yeah, definitely, because uThermal is really, really good when he's aggressive. And that's why in Proxima and other games, I was the one who was trying to be more aggressive than him.
Well, now that you made top 16, I'm sure your greed to move even further in the tournament is growing. So what are your thoughts on moving forward at this tournament?
Nothing right now. I'm just happy, really happy.
Well, that's really great to hear. And congratulations again, MaSa. It was a profound performance from you. And for now, we're going to head back to Claris to wrap up the day.
Thank you very much, Smix. Thank you very much, Jeff, as well. As MaSa able to advance on 2-0.
Dude.
What's up?
Can I just say, what a world we live in? Because, like, on the one hand, there can be a clip on Twitter of Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather, getting each other's face. He's like, is that your dad back there? Your dad sucks. Now in StarCraft 2, you like cut to Smix. MaSa, does it feel great? He's like, yeah, man, it's been really depressing. I've been sucking a lot of butt for like a year and a half, but here I am. It's like, whoa.
I mean, a realist.
They're all so somber, though. That's
Well, he said he was happy.
Yeah.
It's an improvement.
That's great. Thank you, Ravi. Some of these guys, the next step in esports is going to be some motivational speakers, some clowns, maybe, just a bunch of children, puppies. Just put them in a room with a bunch of puppies. Just have them cuddle. I don't know.
Well, actually, that's why we brought Ravi in. He's now our optimist of the desk. So take it away, man.
Please.
MaSa, 2-0.
Go cuddle.
I'm feeling great about this. I mean, he's finally making his return. I think last year he was able to even get a round of 4 finish. So really, really big potential for him. But the fact that he also just still seems a little bit somber.
No, you weren't supposed to go to the buts. There's no buts. He's like, yeah,
all
optimism.
positive. He got that revenge. I talked about it. Some weird things. Someone out there, please crunch those numbers. It's not something I'm making up. Maybe it just feels like it happens more often than it does, but it feels like it happens more often than it does. But it was awesome. He played, it was a 2-0. It wasn't actually close. The first game was really interesting. Some good moves there. Yeah. The good counter drop. A lot of people do mishandle those doom drops like that. He cut the knife's edge. He like came in his own main base as close as you possibly can to the drop, and it worked. But he stayed calm, cool, and collected, and facing the guy that 2-0'd you earlier in the elimination match to make those choices, especially when you're down on yourself like he is, he's showing some growth in the tournament. Those are the most dangerous players to face because they're adapting, they're getting more confident. So look for MaSa tomorrow.
Yeah, let's see who he gets in the round of 16 later down the line. Let's check in with the groups and see what's gone on in the round of 32 as a whole. I think 1 or 2 more results are just kind of trickling in as we finish things up. But here are a lot of the advances into the round of 16. What stands out for you, Jeff, to start things off?
Well, Neeb survives. We talked a little bit about that earlier. That's a tough group. To lose the first series to Snoot is not necessarily the biggest shock in the world, but to recover and beat Sword of Antilo is a big deal, so that's nice. Cyril, taking care of business. We haven't had him on the mainstream, so of course we'll see him tomorrow. That's a big, big result there. It got taken away a little bit before I was ready.
We got some more here.
Jon Snow is eliminated, so the other American did fall. We're still kind of waiting for Neeb to have that support cast.
Yeah.
I think one of the big surprises for a lot of people is Probe, the Australian player, being able to make it out of his group on top of some pretty good players, I would say. True, Hearthstone, Optimus. True making out in second place, but still 4-0 for Probe.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned Neeb obviously taking second in his group, but that has been a common theme in all of the WCSs that he's won this year. He has, in the round of 32, had to go all the way through to the deciders match against TLO and then beat him. So it's a part of the course now. History, as esports would know it, Tasteless would say. Yep. I also want to point out Scarlett did advance as well. She has had a bit of a more difficult time in WCS so far, and she's able to at least make it to the top 16. So a couple of best of fives away from making a real dent in this tournament, which is definitely what she's capable of. So I think a lot of the players that we get really excited about are there. There have been some upsets. Again, we talked about it earlier, but Cham dropping down. True as one of 2 Koreans, depending on how you count MaSa citizenship.
is still alive, which is great because he too has been having a bumpy road. It has not been Korean dominated like last year kind of was at times.
And the last two results that we're waiting on is Igers versus Stefano and Bly versus Haas. I think Bly versus Haas is 1-1 currently. So who knows what might happen there.
Literally nobody.
No,
that is a
absolutely
rematch also from earlier on where Haas ended up beating Bly 2-1 in some insane games.
Yep, he did that 8-gate Zealot all-in with charge. Always good and fun to watch. We love a little bit of Haas here. For now, though, that does it for us, ladies and gentlemen, for day number 1 of WCS Valencia. You can check us out tomorrow as we start things at noon CEST. So make sure to stick around for day number 2, and we shall see you for more StarCraft action very, very soon.